all of us really want to know what price XRP is going to go. Before we actually try to put a price tag on this asset, we need to actually understand what it actually stands for. Because if we are trying to put a price on it, we need to first know the value. This is what it actually does. So the design has been executed in a way that it solves this problem. Traditional finance is solving this issue? No, it doesn't. And that's why modern builders or the software engineers come out and they built this one. Now, you're like, okay, they have actually built a product. How can I really price that one? Before you even try to do that, let's actually first look at this, because once you have this idea, now you think like, okay, I can now think about how I can try to put a price on this particular asset. It's something similar to a stock of a company. If you understand the company, which field it is and what it is doing, what the value proposition is, then you have an edge over a lot of other people in the market. So let's actually break this down and dig deep in. So first, for newcomers, Ripple Labs is a company. XRP Ledger is a ledger which is open source. Anyone can use that without the permission of Ripple Labs. I don't even personally know them, but I still use it. Fine. So you don't have any connection. So Ripple, the company, is a software company which sells software to financial institutions. So their software is designed to do this. What? Payment messages. Fine. Now, the banks, payment providers, and other financial institutions can use this ledger to settle those payments, because payments are like the message and then the settlement. Combined, it's done. Otherwise, it's still a payment message but without a settlement. Now, if you are looking at this, the software actually offers them an entrance into RippleNet. A lot of banks, payment providers, and financial institutions are already there testing out how the system works over the traditional issues. So this is designed in a way it solves a lot of problem, and with this asset, it's going to solve a ton of that. So it is created in a way that it is solving $1 trillion problem in the market. Now, what is the $1 trillion problem? The cross-border payments, if you have ever done the remittance, you'll know this. It's super slow. The friction is high, meaning the fee is super high. Sending $1,000 and paying $80 to $100 in fee doesn't feel good when you can really go here and do that real time and near zero fees. Even if you are here, you're just paying $5 as fee compared to $80. That's much better. Fine. Now, if you are looking at this, the cross-border payments, you actually need to have both of them. The payment has to go through and settle it, not just the message of this guy has to be paid this much. Fine. So it actually comes to one particular point. What's it? The actual payment. So if you are going to talk about the settlements, first thing, XRP Ledger is actually an open source payment network. We know that. It was actually designed not for us, the common people, to use it. It was actually designed for regulated financial institutions. So these regulated financial institutions now focus on cross-border payments mainly. Now, when they are going to use it, what is the primary question or the primary requirement? Yes, you do need interoperability. Yes, it should be scalable. But the primary step goes to the security of the model, how secure it is. And that's where you get this FBA governance model, which is Federated Byzantine Agreement model. Now, you have a lot of other stuff, proof of work, proof of stake, and we all know the issues with that. So if you are a regulated financial institution going to do this cross-border payments for the next 10, 20 years, you are looking at this, basically. Fine. Now, when you are executing one payment, there's a lot of confusion in the market. And I want to put my perspective onto this. And I think it is correct. And if you feel that's wrong, you can correct me. Drop a comment in the comment section below. If you are a financial institution sending a payment of your customer from Europe to India, that's Euro to INR, fine. It's not just the random total volume of XRP. It's not just the random total supply of the XRP. You need to actually understand this. The buy and sell, this is what happens in the market. The marketplace is always moving, doing something. Now, if you are looking at the total volume and saying like, okay, that has 30 billion daily volume and I want to just transfer 10 million, it's going to be easy, fine. But the actual question should be boiling down to this point. If you are focusing on euro to INR, does that corridor has enough volume? If not, then it goes like this. You are buying XRP, that XRP goes into a stable coin, USDT, USDC, whichever you want, and then from there to INR. So now your transaction is not directly like this, it's going through XRP and then at the other end, you do it into USDC, USDT and then to your currency. So for example, you are looking at Korean won, XRP to Korean won. So that's an exit for anyone who is from US, Europe and other countries looking to push money through Korea. Fine. So your exit point is XRP to Korean won. If that's just 14 million and you want to actually send $1 trillion, that's going to happen in a long time. You literally have to wait and execute it one by one. Now, you can try doing micro transactions, but then it again gets confusing. The total volume on that day, it's 14 million. So you now want to send $1 trillion, that's not going to happen in my opinion. So if you say there is a ton of liquidity in USD pair, a ton of liquidity in USDT or USDC pair, that's all fine. Now it actually goes here. Have you actually heard from the USDC chief, the Circle team in the World Economic Forum? They have highlighted this clearly. If we have a company like Brad's, we have a higher interoperability, we have higher scalability. Now, why is that being talked? One of the reason is like they already have financial institution like Ripple, the company, to do these payments. So if they are joining hands, that's another clapping moment as it actually moves. Fine. Now, when this transactions is happening, it's not really designed for you, me and the retailers to do these transactions, right? This model was actually created for whom? Institutions. Fine. Now, they've actually created it like RTXP protocol where you have validators, you have UNL. Now, it's an open source ledger. You can be a validator. You can try to do that. Now, the UNL or unique node list is like, Ripple actually give you, they proposed or advocated UNL. Fine. That's the only place where they're saying, okay, these are secured guys. They can actually do this. Why? Because there is no incentive in doing this. There's a lot of confusion in that. If it's proof of work, proof of stake, you are getting incentivized to do that. But here, you don't have that. So you actually need someone who is completely regulated and trustworthy, that they are not pushing in empty transaction. They are not wash trading. You need to actually understand. They are not using it for their advantage. Fine. At that point, this comes into play. Now, inside that ledger, you can either go settle using an IOU. Recently, Ripple came out with a line of credit facility. Fine. Now, that do have a counterparty risk. The other guy is taking IOU. I'm going to give you back. Fine. But if that company goes bankrupt, at this time in the economic situation, a lot of them are going bankrupt. It can happen. That is a risk. So the counterparty risk is heavy there. Whereas here in the XRP ledger, you don't have that. Fine. You are doing that transaction instantaneously, it goes out. Now, if it's a micro transaction, especially like remittance, you're sending $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 max, that's done. You don't need to look at the volume because most of these markets have the volume to do those kind of transactions. But the actual internet payment is for big institutions. And the actual Forex market is like $6 trillion. Now, it's not one bundle of 6 trillion. It's like a small pieces, and all of them get together. But inside that lies a lot of different transactions from a lot of different currencies. So you're not only talking about euro, you're not only talking about USD. Like if you're in the Forex market, you are like, euro USD is one of the favorite pair for a lot of people. USD yen is one of the favorite pair for a lot of people. I think these are like two most commonly traded assets and where you find a ton of volume. But if you move on to Korean won, you move on to INR, you don't actually get that much volume. it starts reducing as you go to a rural different nation. Fine. So each corridor need the volume. It's not just the total volume, it's the corridor which you are sending money to. Fine. So now we have to actually reach the volume levels to that high so that you can get adopted. Why? Because if you are saying, okay, USD is being sent to India, Euro is being sent to India, India is like the biggest remittance receiver, fine, you now need the volume in that particular corridor. So right now it's the speculators like us who try to understand what the market is, try to understand what the asset stands for and what the value is, and buy, accumulate, believing the value of this asset is going to reflect in the price at one point. Fine. So we provide the liquidity right now for them to execute the payment. We are buying, they are moving. Fine. They use that liquidity to move the funds here and there. But at one point, it's not us because it's what's not designed for us. So if you are saying like, okay, back in the day when XRP price was high, say around $2, we had around 20 billion in daily volume. Fine. And from Korean won, there was a lot. Compared to what it is right now, they were actually buying a lot. Similarly, at that time, if you're sending money into Korea, that's going to be easy. So now you actually understand like, okay, Ripple, the company is a little bit different from XRP Ledger. They don't actually do the settlement directly using XRP. They don't do the settlement. They allow the banks and payment providers to settle using their networks. If they have deposited amount in another country, they can use that. That again goes to that nostro vostro kind of stuff where it gets again confusing and costly. Fine. Now, if we are talking about XRP, we do know that the XRP, when they do this transaction, the fees associated with these transactions is teeny tiny bit, I agree, but it's actually paid in XRP. It's burned. Fine. So it is designed as an appreciating asset or it's deflationary in nature. That actually means if this market exists already, it's not these institutions, fine, it's a lot of speculators doing this. It's us, the retailers, and that is a demand, fine. And with that demand, you have the supply slowly going down, teeny tiny bit. If financial institutions are entering there to do $6 trillion a day volume, they are paying the fee in XRP basically. So if they are paying the fee in XRP, will they hold dollar, which is a depreciating asset, and pay fee in XRP, which is an appreciating asset? Common sense, buy XRP, whatever unit you want, and then pay the fees. That's what I think is going to happen if people are going to adopt this and go forward. So if that's a CBDC environment, you can literally see most of the institutions doing the same. And I think this same scenario has been explained by David Schwartz before, who's the CTO of Ripple. So now that actually means if this goes into play, that's additional demand coming in. One, the payment providers entering, that's additional demand, plus the speculators who are already there, and then you get them buying XRP to hold it for fees. Now you can say, okay, that's like 48 billion in supply. You can take a big chunk out of it and do the math like it's 3 to 5 seconds. I literally had this happening in one of my videos where in the comment section we were arguing. We were trying to come out with an idea, right? 3 to 5 seconds of XRP transaction. So it can literally do X amount of transactions a day. Now the question is, if that particular transaction has to go from Korean won to Indian rupees, do you really have that much liquidity in that particular corridor? If not, it's not actually going to get executed. That's my understanding. And if you actually understood something and you got a general perspective from this video and it's informative for you, hit that like button. And if you want to watch another one to gain more information, you can go to this particular video, or else you want to look at the general market update, the fundamentals and the technical analysis, you can go to this particular video. That's it guys, I'll meet you on the next video. Bye-bye.